Hello everyone and welcome to a really wonderful game from last year's FIDE World Cup. You guys have been requesting more Abdusattorov games, and this is one that I haven't shown, and probably the game was overlooked by many due to the fact that Abdusattorov lost his match to Vasif Durarbayli of Azerbaijan. The two classical games ended in a draw, and this is the first game of the Rapids. It's truly a wonderful one, and most likely why it got overlooked, but it's a spectacular game. It features two really awesome pause the video moments, so you guys will enjoy that. And sorry about misinforming you about yesterday's World Top 20. At the moment when I was showing you the table, it got updated, and then obviously as it gets updated, it gets messed up, so some of the players disappeared. So Arjun wasn't actually number 16 in the world, he was number 18, but I will show you the actual one after we check out this game, so you don't think that he just jumped 30 rating points out of nowhere. So let's check it out. It's like I said, wonderful game, really awesome to pause the video moments. Let's do this. So Abdusattorov has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have e5 by Durarbayli, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. Abdusattorov goes for the Ruy Lopez. We have a6 and the bishop captures on c6, going for the exchange variation, which sort of isn't all that much for white, but I mean, you've seen what Bobby Fischer did with this, not so much for white. So the captures, we have castles, and now how do you handle the e5 pawn being attack? Well, you could defend it with something like f6. You could play, you could pin the knight. Let's say bishop g4. You could play queen to d6. But here we have knight to e7. It's a cool way of defending the pawn without actually defending it. So Abdusattorov accepts the challenge. Knight captures on e5, and now queen to d4. Similar as if white did not castle, but now it's not as scary for white. So of course the knight is attacked. The pawn is attacked. Queen to h5, now threatening queen captures on f7, and g6. We have we have knight to f3, offering a queen trade, but this is of course favorable for white, so queen captures on e4. Durarbayli just wins his pawn back, and now knight c3, developing while attacking. Queen to f5, black wants to trade queens only on his terms. Queen to h4, Abdusattorov declines this trade, and the bishop to g7. We have d3, and now queen to g4, insisting on the queen trade, and now just bishop to f4. And at the time this game was played, this was a new move, and the position has never been reached again. So it is now, as of move 12, that we have a completely new game. And here Durarbayli trades. Queen captures on h4, knight captures on h4, and king to d8 now. You have to defend your c7 pawn, knight back to f3, and now pawn to h6. We have rook f to e1, continuing development, and rook f to e8. Durarbayli does the same. h4, preventing any future g5s, and the bishop to g4 now, developing and also threatening to maybe ruin white's pawn structure. So knight e5, attacking the bishop, and the bishop back to e6. We have knight to e4, and now pawn to b6, preparing to shift the king all the way to b7 and get the rook into the game. So rook e2, maybe you're playing something like c3 to defend your b2 pawn, maybe rook a to e1 to double up rooks on the e file, king to c8, and now knight to c4. And what is the idea behind this knight to c4 move? Can black play bishop captures and then bishop captures? Well, you could, but for one, you're giving up your bishop pair, and for two, it just isn't all that great. For example, captures, and bishop captures on b2. There's this very nasty rook a to e1 with all sorts of threats like knight to d6 check. Now with the rooks doubled here, it could get very nasty. For example, if king b7, you can just resign this. For example, knight d6 check, c captures, rook captures here, and that's pretty much it. You have a rook on the 7th rank, you're just going to start gobbling up pawns, and this is lost for black. So after knight to c4, we have knight to f5 by Durarbayli now, with some ideas of maybe bringing the knight to d4, but for the moment going after the h4 pawn, and now just rook a to e1, inviting knight captures on h4, and even though this is playable, it would take you too much time to calculate all the ins and outs, and like I said, this is a rapid game. So rook to d8, Durarbayli says, alright, I'm not comfortable with my rook on e8, let's just move it, and now knight back to e5. Again, asking, are you maybe interested in a nice h4 pawn, but then the c6 pawn falls. So here king b7, defending the pawn, and now knight back to f3. We have finally bishop captures on a2. You could play bishop captures on b2 also, or you could play something else, but here bishop captures on a2, and this is a most interesting move that could be met with some very clean precision, but I have to remind everyone that this is rapid, and here b3 was played, which is not the best way to play this. Best way is to play g4. Force black to move the knight, or to put something on d4, and only after, let's say, knight d4, knight captures and bishop captures, now you play b3. And now it's much different, because now next move c3 will come with an attack on both the bishops. It's not a winning position for white or anything. White will still have to fight very hard, because black will have a whole lot of pawns. For example, c3, now you're going to have to captures and captures, and the black has 7 pawns, white has 4, so you have 3 pawns for the piece, and you also have already the passed a and b pawn, so it would definitely be a game. White would be up a piece, but black would have 3 extra pawns. So okay, after bishop captures on a2, we have the immediate b3 by Abdusattorov, and now pawn to a5, saying that you are not in time to trap my bishop. Also, rook a1 is impossible, because the bishop covers that square. I know you guys forgot about the bishop. So bishop to e5, countering this bishop, and now just bishop captures, knight captures, and pawn to a4, and now any rook a1 will just be met with a captures on b3. So b captures on a4 here. You could also go for knight captures on f7, but it doesn't help white all that much. Black is just better here. So b captures on a4, and now bishop to e6. If you go after the pawn, then c4, and then the bishop really has no way of returning into the game. So first bishop back to e6, and now rook to b1. Abdusattorov realizes that he is not better here, and that he will have to play for tricks. And now, of course, rook captures on a4 is impossible. If you do this, then knight to c5 with check wins the rook, as of course the b pawn is pinned. So after rook b1, rook to a5, putting pressure on the knight, but just pawn to f4, nicely defending. Knight captures on h4. Vasif finally grabs this pawn, and now pawn to c4. We have g5, and now pawn to c5. And now what is happening here, and what is the idea behind this move? Well, best for Vasif would be just to kick away the knight with f6, but he decides to kick away this knight with f5, and this allows Abdusattorov a really awesome idea to be pulled off, and that is knight to d6 with check. And now the problem is, of course, if the knight is captured, then the b6 pawn is not defended, but there's no other move that you can play other than this. For example, you move the king, you just get destroyed. Knight captures on c6, and everything just falls apart. If you capture the knight, c captures on b6, now b7 check, the knight covers these squares, it's game over. So the knight has to be captured. C captures on d6, and now rook captures on b6 with check. King to c7, this is the only move. Rook captures on c6 with check, king back to b7, and now even c captures on d6, preparing rook to c7 check. And also this is a defense against rook captures on e5. If black would play rook captures on e5, remove the defender of the c6 rook, it seems like black is winning, but there's the Zwischenzug rook to c7 check, and then you recapture. King b6, pawn captures here, and now you just get destroyed. Rook b2 check, and so on. You have the 2 passed pawns. This is completely winning for white. So c captures on d6, we have king to a8, again the only move to survive, and rook to b2 now. And here you have to play g captures on f4. With this move you are still in the game. However, after bishop to d5, the move that was played, there is such a spectacular move that it was too much even for Abdusattorov to find in a rapid game. However, you guys, as usual, I imagine, are comfortable in your own homes, or maybe, driving somewhere, watching this on your smartphone. Feel free to pause the video and try to find an absolute instant resigner for black, or rather a winning move for white, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this spectacular move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to d7. That's right, and there's no defense here. The threat rook to c8 cannot be parried, and the only move that black basically can play is bishop captures on c6. But now the real idea comes to mind. Knight captures on c6, attacking the rook, and there's no move with the rook. Once the pawn is captured, this is just mate in one, and if you don't capture, for example, you move the rook somewhere, let's say you move the rook to h8, it doesn't help you. Then you capture this knight, this rook, then the pawn gets promoted. It's impossible to play this. But again, it was too much for Abdusattorov to find in a rapid game. He played rook b to c6 because he found a different idea, and now it's still extremely hard for Durarbayli to hold this. He played knight captures on g2. It's a terrible moment to grab a pawn, because now pawn to d7 and now king to a7, getting the king away from the back rank. But now rook to b8 seems impossible because the b8 square is defended twice, but you kind of want to trade. If black captures, you just get a queen into the game and it's game over. So here, after rook to b8, rook captures on d7 was played. Durarbayli has to give up some material to eliminate the passed pawn. Knight captures on d7, and now comes knight captures on f4. So what's the situation here? You can see that Abdusattorov is now up the exchange. He has 2 rooks, whereas Durarbayli only has 1. But there are 3 passed pawns on the king side. If Vasif can start pushing, those could also be very interesting. But Abdusattorov plays it very clean. Rook to c8. With the threat of rook to c7, this will be game over. So knight to e6 guarding the c7 square, and now just knight to b6. And what's the idea behind knight to c6? Well, Durarbayli says, all right, show me. Bishop to b7 attacks the rook, and we've reached the position from the thumbnail. I imagine I will be using this for the thumbnail. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find this brilliant finisher while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on adding another beautiful mating picture into your mind. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to a8 with check. This is what Abdusattorov played, and it was in this position on move 43 that Vasif Durarbayli resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. It's a completely forced variation. The only move you have is bishop captures, because all the other moves are illegal. And after bishop captures, there's the wonderful knight to c8 with check. And again, all of these squares are covered by the rook, so the only square is king to a6, and now comes rook to b6 checkmate. So to pull off this checkmate, you had to use everything. The weird placement of the bishop, the weird placement of the rook, you had to sacrifice. It's something that if you don't know it exists, you might find it in a classical game, but you will not find it in a rapid or a blitz game. But now that you know it exists, you will also find it in your own rapid and blitz games and crush many opponents, playing online. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Really wonderfully done. If you guys want to see it once again, it's rook to a8 check here. This knight to c8 check, king a6, and rook to b6. Absolutely beautiful. So hope you enjoyed it. And to rectify yesterday's mistake, here are the world top 30 now. You can see that Arjun Ergaisi is number 18 actually, not number 16 like we've shown yesterday. Something happened to the cross table. I have no idea what, but yeah, those are the top 30. And you can see that Abdusattorov also joins the world top 30. He is now actually in number 30, 27, 13, and we'll see if he will be able to push this as hard as Gukesh and Arjun are pushing it, but it's truly a remarkable age that we are living in, as these young players are just breaking into the top 30, top 20, and Arjun even further than that. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, or today. But today is the start of the Sinquefield Cup, so I will most likely be covering that. But also, if the youngsters continue pushing hard, we will be covering that as well. No worries there. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and sorry about tricking you yesterday. It was not my intention. I would like to thank Uzi Shala, Frederick Karaher, Petru Gavril, Gerald Watts, and Wood for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world, like the Sinquefield Cup that starts today. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.